welcome to the Workshop Therapy Podcast. I'm your host, Andrew, and joining me today is BJ of Byrom's Custom Woodworks. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you for having me, Andrew. I appreciate it.
Oh, I appreciate you taking the time to come on, and
Yeah,
I appreciate our pre-show chat. That was I don't usually talk about topics like that with guests, but being that you're Texan, it seems like that's the natural the natural thing to have
the
to
way
talk
of
about.
life. Yeah, there you go. Yeah,
But we'll leave that as the teaser to see if people are interested. But
yeah.
anyway, so you said you grew up on a farm. What
did.
What type of farm?
So we did a little bit of everything from horses to hay to goats, you name it. We had it. Not a huge farm, and we called it the farm. I don't know if I'd necessarily call it a farm. I mean, we did produce products for sale and for tax relief, I guess. So we weren't spending a lot of money in taxes. That was the biggest reason my dad did a lot of it. But yeah, we cut hay that actually helped supply a lot of the cattle farmers around us. Because, dealing with, when you have massive cattle farms, they're not able to grow the grass a lot. And then come wintertime and droughts and downside in Texas, we do deal with, if not annual, semi-annual droughts. And so we pushed to have a lot of extra hay so we could take care of the farmers around us. And the one cool thing my dad always did is he was never in it for the money. He had a good job that paid the bills. So the thing he would always do is he would sell the hay at cost. Whatever it cost us to bale it, if we had a company come in and do it, if our tractors were down or whatever, he'd go to the farmers, instead of charging during a drought where a round bale of hay would go for $150, $200 a bale, he'd be like, it's $50, $25, whatever. Because he knew at the end of the day, and he grew up on a cattle farm. So he understood if these farmers can't feed their animals through the winter or through the drought, they're going to lose it all. So why overcharge them when I don't need the money? That's just kind of the way he was. My grandpa was the same. And my grandpa he owned a cattle farm too, on the side, kind of as a hobby on the side. So it was that, let's just take care of them. And as I got older and him and my mom split up, he ended up buying another farm, another piece of property, continued to do the same thing. And then it turned into, we're going to cut the hay. We're going to bale hay every year just so great grandmother can feed her cows. He would just give her, we'd bale it and truck it all down to her property. And I asked him one day, I was like, why just give it away? At the end of the day, I said, I understand it's great grandmother. She was, an amazing woman, but why? You can make money off this. And I was starting to work in the business world just as a high schooler, had a job, and I was like, why just give it away, Dad? And he goes, well, one, it's the right thing to do because I don't need the money. He goes, my bills are paid. I've got the extra income for us to go play and do stuff. He goes, I don't need it, And two, he showed me the math. He goes, I can right now on a 30-acre piece of property in Texas, no ag exemption. It was $10,000 a year in property taxes. Cutting hay off it every other year gave us an ag exemption, and he paid less than $2,000 a year in property taxes because of the ag exemption. He's like, that right there is more money than I'm going to make selling hay. Why not just give it away? And it's grandmother. Take care of her. And we got free steaks out of the deal. So there was always that bonus. We never had to buy beef because we had, a cattle farm down the road. And but it was fun. It learned a lot of life lessons, and I jokingly say I'm a jack of all trades. And I know that's a phrase that's misspoke a lot because people never add the last half of that. Jack of all trades, a master of none, but sometimes better than a master of none or a master of one. Learned how to frame houses, build fences, fix tractors. I can bale hay. I can cut. I can do it all. Do I like doing that? No, God, no. I do not miss the 100-degree days of pulling barbed wire, stretching barbed wire, and driving fence posts. but I can do it. And it's funny, I still have a T-post driver sitting in my backyard, and I live in the city because it was one of those farm tools that just kind of moved with me a couple times. I'm like, I might need it one day. And, even living in the city, it's come in handy a couple times. I'm not going to lie. I had to put some T-posts in the ground for a friend of mine. I'm like, city boys got one,
Yeah, that's same as me growing up. Like I grew up on a ranch. We had a big cattle ranch, and my dad's 80. He'll be 82 this year. Okay. And he's still out there. He only has 20. What do we have here now? 25, 26 cows now. So we don't have as many animals. But I'll tell you how he's going to die. He's going to die by slipping and falling off his tractor, feeding his cows, and hitting his head. That's how he's going to go, and that's exactly how he wants to go too. But anyway, it's same thing for me. You grow up learning everything.
Yeah,
it's like I'm probably one of the very few people you'll ever meet who has a doctorate and a Class 1 driver's license.
I know a lot of people with I guess Class 1's what we would consider a
CDL,
commercial. Yeah. I know a lot of guys with commercial driver's license, but not a lot with a doctorate too. And I know a lot of people with doctorates, but they don't tend to overlap, not in this area. So it's kind of
they don't seem to overlap anywhere.
No, that's some pretty stout bragging rights right there to be able to say, yeah, not only do I have a doctorate, but I can jump in a semi truck and haul a load down the road. That's impressive.
It's honestly been a few years since I did that, but I can't. I used to be able to back up, a Super B, like the 2-trailer deal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I used to be able to back those up in a straight line, but I can't do that anymore. That's single trailers, no problem whatsoever. But
my wife still to this day, and we've been together for 10 plus years. She still tells me all the time, anytime I back a trailer, that is the hottest, most impressive thing I've ever seen. The guy, a guy backing a trailer. And to me, that's just part of life. Like you learn how to back a trailer as soon as you can walk almost, growing up on a farm or a ranch. And the first time I did it, she's like, oh, wow, that's nice. I'm like, I just backed a trailer. Just part of life, man. Yep.
So last year we, so I'm currently on disability. I don't know how many of the podcasts you've listened to so far, but
a couple, yeah.
So I'm on disability because I injured my hand. So I was a chiropractor, but just kept getting this repetitive hand injury, right? And so decided to pull the plug. I'm on my disability insurance, and this is one piece of advice that I give anybody who's self-employed. If you're self-employed, get yourself disability insurance and get yourself more than you think you need, because it's pretty bloody cheap insurance for the ifs.
That's what I've heard.
Anyway, so long story short, I take my disability insurance, and so now I'm sitting at home doing my master's to re-career myself, and my wife, we're homeschooling our kids, and like, what are we going to do? So we decided that go on this epic road trip. So we went to Tuktoyaktuk, which is as far north as you can drive in North America, up on the Arctic Ocean.
Oh, wow.
So we drove up there, and then we drove down into Alaska, and then we drove down to, went to see the Pacific Ocean, and then we drove all the way across Canada to the Atlantic Ocean. Ooh. And then drove down I have a brother who lives in Boston. So we went to visit him, and then we drove back across to Yellowstone, and then back up home again. And
oh, wow.
So we did. It's long.
It's a lot of driving. It's
3 months.
3 months. Wow. Okay.
Yeah. 3 months. It was 28,500 kilometers. So that's 17,000 miles, I think, somewhere around there. But,
that's yeah.
But anyway, so all this to say that the number one comment that I got, like, all the time, you just pull into a campsite and like a real man, you back your trailer into where it should be without screwing around. You just back it in, right?
Yep.
Probably every other day, at least 2 or 3 times a week, somebody would, holy cow, that's really impressive. You must back up a trailer a lot. I'm like, well, yes, but also it's just I know how to do it. So
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm decent at. I've got a buddy that's used to be I guess he technically is still a truck driver. He still holds his CDL. And he did record drivers, and he always ran the what are they called, rollbacks, or he picked up semi trucks. So he ran the biggest wreckers out on the road. And I can say I can very efficiently back a trailer. I can put it where it needs to go without a lot of fuss. I've watched this guy back trailers. I'm going, okay, there's no way you're getting it in that spot with the amount of area you have. And he's like, watch this. Almost using his finger to whip it around. He's like, yep, so there it is. I'm like, I guess when you do it professionally every day, and all you're doing is, constantly backing trailers, that he is. There's been once or twice I'm like, I might need to call Lance. I don't know if I can get the trailer in here, but yeah, even pulling the camper. Like, we've got a shorter camper that's a single axle, and single axles don't back well at all. They don't like to stay straight when you're backing up, and I've gotten pretty good at swinging that beast around, and put it right where she needs to go, and get out, drop the legs, and go. It's just part of it. But yeah, I've sat at many a boat ramps and just shaking my head, going, "Hey, do you want me to put your boat in the water for you? Because we're going to be here all day, buddy."
Yep. I've had the same feelings a few times, and actually there was one time on our trip where we'd pulled into the campground, and we were sitting there waiting for this guy, and he's just backing up, back and forth, and finally I was just like, we've been sitting here for 10 minutes. Get out of my truck, and I walk over and I knock on his window, and I was like, I'm a professional truck driver. Do you want me to back this up for you so I can get through here? And he's like, oh, I'm so embarrassed. I've never done this before. I'm like, I'm sorry. It's fine, dude. Just do you want me to do this? Oh, yeah, please. And so I got into his truck and backed his trailer in, and then it was done. But
yeah, and you look at that, and and it going to the whole workshop therapy thing, like, you look at the mental health aspect of it, because as a guy, if I'm trying to do something that, and whether it's you want to view it as a manly thing or whatever, to have somebody else come up and go, do you want some help? Like, you're obviously not, because it would make me think like someone going, oh, you're obviously not man enough to do this. Let me help you. And I've had that argument when it comes to backing trailers or doing stuff. And I don't ever look at that as that's a call against your masculinity. Oh, you can't back a trailer. Like, you and I, we grew up doing things like that, and you did it professionally. I mean, somebody that just decided to go buy their first RV or their first boat, or hell, even pulling a U-Haul trailer. If you've never done it before, okay, cool. You admit defeat every once in a while. I think eventually there comes a point where it's okay to admit defeat. Let somebody that is possibly more skilled step in and help you out, or break something, hurt someone. There's a lot of other factors, and that's one thing growing up, getting older, because I'll be 40 in a year, that I have had to learn more times than once, that there is a point where you go, okay, I can't do this. I can't fix this on my own. I need to call a professional. I need to phone a friend that might know how to do it. And I've got buddies that are the same way, that, call me. There's no way I can do this. You do this every day. Come help me. Okay. Yeah, sure. It's just part of it. And getting my kids to understand that's a big focus of my life, is getting them to understand that there comes a point where it does not hurt to step away and go, I need help.
Yeah.
You want to be independent. You want to do it yourself, but sometimes you can just go, there's better people out there for this situation. Let's get them involved. It's fine.
Yeah, and absolutely. And you're like, going back to the jack of all trades thing, just because you can do everything doesn't mean you're the best person at it.
Oh yeah.
And there are absolutely times when there is situations where you're like, yeah, I'm in over my head, and if I figure that I could potentially figure this out, but you're right. Like, what if I damage somebody else, or what if, 5 years down the road, my fix, whatever my fix is, fails
Yeah.
because it wasn't done quite right, and then it damages me or damages somebody
Yeah.
else. And I
It's,
think
yeah.
from a mental point too, like there is a real stigma of well, just man up and get through it. It's like real men don't cry. Well, that's fine, but they're allowed to sometimes.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I've heard that. Anytime I hear that statement, oh, real men don't cry, or, just, you know, suck up the emotions or whatever. And there's a comedian that I follow that makes a joke. It's like, why don't men show emotions? It's like, because we bottle it up and we hold it in tight, and then 20-30 years down the road we have that chunk of intestines pulled out with the cancer that's been caused by the years of bottling up our emotions. And it's like, just, it doesn't hurt to cry every once in a while. Might hurt who you cry in front of, but sometimes stuff happens, and you need to just get it over. Just let it out. Don't bottle it up. And it's taken a lot of years to really understand that, to go, yeah, I'm not as strong as I thought I was. Sometimes I need to cry, and
Yep.
does it make you less manly? Whatever.
Well, I think it's okay to be less manly sometimes.
Yeah.
But that was actually one of the deciding factors of me quitting work and going on disability, because I'm fairly certain you grew up in that rural agricultural thing, and it's probably very similar. Like if you're the man, your job is to do the job and take care of the kid, take care of the family, blah blah blah, and you work through the pain because you have to pay the bills, right? Yeah. And for me, like what was the final trigger for me was my wife and I were walking down the mall. I think it was we were shopping for a birthday present or something. I forget what it was now, but we have the little one between us, and so she's 2 at this point, right? And like every other 2-year-old, it's like, oh, let's swing, right?
Yeah.
And so we're walking along down the mall and swinging her, and then as I go through this swing, there's this sharp shooting pain up my arm, and my arm just went dead. Like I had no grip strength, I had nothing, and I lost grip of her hand, and she took a tumble, and and then she's crying and bawling, and like I was significantly hurting at that point already.
Yeah.
But I was still going to work, and I was still, I gotta go to work until I've got my other masters done, and then I can quit and blah blah blah. But I lost grip on my little girl, and she fell and got hurt, and I felt bad. And then talking about it with my wife, we go over this, and I'm like, I've got to quit. I have disability insurance, I'm paying for it. And so it took the time off, and then like a month later, after I've been off work for a month now, I'm having these conversations with my wife and with my kids, and I realize for the last year, because I'm at a constant 7 out of 10 of pain day in and day out, I'm just short-tempered and snappy with everybody. And I like, it wasn't just oh no, I dropped my little girl. It was,
yeah,
I'm emotionally damaging my whole family because I'm a short-tempered jerk because I'm in pain all the time. And so that taking the time to take a step back and just say, okay, yes, this is my manly role right at the moment, but it's okay to not do that manly role.
Yeah.
Maybe not quite as well as I was before. Is better overall.
It's hard to, and I've learned for me, it's hard to admit defeat. Now, granted, as I've gotten older, because I've hurt myself plenty of times going, I can do this. I don't need help getting XYZ out of the back of my truck or doing whatever. I don't need help. And I've pulled muscles and I've hurt joints. And, there's a lot of times that as I've gotten older, it's like, call my wife. Hey, can you come help? Or call a buddy and come help. And what was it? So last weekend or weekend before last, we had the Texas Woodworking Festival. Did all that, spent, little bit of time in the car. It's about a 4-hour drive there and back, and did that and got to hang out with my son. It was our first guys trip in, 11 years, 10, 11 years since we've just done a guys trip. So since he was like 4, so whatever. And that's not a guys trip. That's a dad and toddler trip.
It's the first one he ever remembers, basically.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, I say him and I do, like, we'll do random shopping trips or just outings, just the two of us. If I'm off on a weekday and, everybody else is at work, we'll just do guy stuff. And did all that, got home, came home a day early because him and I both realized this event, it's cool, but it's not a 2-day event. It's a 1-day event. And we kind of want to get home because we miss our own beds and we miss the girls. Let's get home. And Sunday, I'm working in the shop, just kind of fiddling around, doing some stuff, working on a couple cutting boards. And I think I had glue drying and something else going on. So I kicked my feet up and I'm strolling through social media. 20, 30 minutes goes by and I go to stand up. And as soon as I stood up, I collapsed to the floor. And tried to catch myself, smacked myself in the head, hitting the ground, just hurt. And what had happened when I stood up, my left leg felt like it wasn't there. There was no feeling, and it wasn't like that normal, like, oh, my foot fell asleep tingle feeling. There was nothing there. And I collapsed hard. And in a panic, luckily I put my phone in my pocket, call my wife. She was in the house. I was like, I need you out here. I need you now. Like, I'm hurt. She runs out, and in the time it took her to get out there, I'm trying to move my leg, trying to do everything. I felt myself just getting more and more of a panic, kind of started crying because I'm thinking, it's my left leg, and I'm going through the scenarios and the stuff in my head. Okay, yes, it's my left leg, but my left arm, the left side of my face is fine. I'm kind of going through the medical stuff, going, is it possibly a stroke? Is it possibly this? Like, what medical thing could this be? And so I start panicking. Because my grandfather had several strokes in his life. And so it's like, well, could it be a minor stroke that it's only affecting my leg and not, my upper extremities? And she comes in, she starts grabbing my leg. And other than me looking at it, I couldn't tell she was touching me. Like, there was nothing there. Ended up, my daughter comes out, and that was a defeat for me, for my daughter to see me in that condition. Because I'm supposed to be this big, strong superhero to her. I am never supposed to show weakness in front of my daughter. If you look at the way the world, you believe the world, you should never show weakness in front of your little girl. And, and she instantly, God bless her, she was like, what do you need? What do you need, Daddy? I was like, I need you to go get your big brother, is what I need you to do. As I need to get off the ground. If I'm going to do anything, assess anything, I need to get off the ground. So between him and my wife, who are both, my wife's 110 pounds. I think my son's probably 120, 130 pounds. I'm 260. I'm a big dude. It took them both, because I couldn't. I had no power to get up. It took them both to get me up off the ground. And panic had already set in. I felt so defeated because here it is. My family is having to help me get up and function. And finally got inside and everything. And my wife, God bless her, she is waiting on me hand and foot. What do you need? Do you need water? Do you need an ice pack? Do you need a warming pad? Do you need medicine? Do you need this? Do you want to go to the doctor? Do you want to do this? And I just am like, and I got frustrated with her, and I know I did. And I don't think I said anything I shouldn't have said, but it was kind of, hey, just leave me alone. Let me sit here and wallow in my own misery. Just leave me alone. And she goes, no, what do you need? I'm like, I'm fine. And I didn't say leave me alone. It was more leave me alone is I'm fine. Don't worry about me. I'm fine. And she's learned that over the years. When I say I'm fine, I don't need anything, or don't worry about me. That's my way of very politely saying, please just go away. Let me suffer in a way. And it scared me. There was a moment in my mind where I'm going, crap, if this doesn't come back, what am I going to do? Unfortunately, I'm guessing it was a pinched nerve. I sat wrong, or I rolled wrong, and I pinched a nerve. Because after about an hour or two, it finally came back, and I was able to walk again. But I sat there, and there was that just fear of, if for some reason my leg does not work, ever again. What am I going to do? How am I going to take care of my family? How am I going to be a dad? And it was, but knowing the fact that my kids the entire time and my wife stopped everything they were doing to make sure dad was okay. What do you need? Do you want to do this? Do you want us to do this? And it's, I was like, that was that moment of realization. I was like, I got a pretty damn good tribe here. They've got my back if I need anything. And there's been lots of times where things have happened and I've been able to tell, yeah, they've got my back. They really do. They're there for me when I need them. And I'm thankful for that. And it's made a lot of difference in my life knowing that and having that realization that I got a good crew.
Yeah, and that's going to the mental health aspect of things, knowing that being the individual that you have the I have to do it all sort of mentality,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like that's the manly thing to do. One of the things about mental health is knowing that you have that support system around you.
Yep.
So when you do fall down, whether it's your leg gives out or you mentally can't handle something, either way, knowing that there's that support group around you, whether it's your family, whether it's your social community or your church or your workplace, whatever it is,
mm-hmm.
knowing that you have a supportive community that will pick you up and help you get through it is super critical to good mental health and to proper functioning. But
yeah,
another aspect that I was going to say, actually, to your to your failure as a manly dad to your daughter there, that also is actually a good thing, because one of the best things that kids can see. Think back to, I don't know what your family was like, but in the 80s, there was like this thing where you shouldn't fight in front of your kids.
Mm-hmm.
You should always, everything should be perfect for your children, and do your arguing in private, blah blah blah. Not that you should fight in front of your kids, but there's this sweep the problems under the rug so your kids have this dream, leave it to beaver, whatever idealized childhood. But the carry on result of that is that there's this entire generation of kids who have no conflict resolution skills, right? And so when your kids see you fail at something or have an issue and then watch you work through that and figure it out and then move on, teaches them the skills they need to do the same thing. Otherwise, they have this inferiority complex of, my dad is a superhero and he was able to do everything. I don't know why I'm such a failure and my foot hurts when I stub my toe, right?
That was one thing I don't say I'm thankful of with my parents, but they never hit anything. Now, other times do I wish that they would have fought behind closed doors? A lot, because my mom and dad would have just knockout, drag down fights. Like it was, I'm glad they got a divorce. Honestly, it was healthy for the rest of the family. But my dad, he never showed weakness, but we knew there was things that would get to him. He never hid it. I can remember him getting his middle finger caught in the PTO shaft of a tractor. And being around that, how dangerous the PTO shaft of a tractor is. And he all but lost his finger.
That's a long story short. He doesn't have a middle finger anymore.
No, he does. He still has it. It laid it open like a smashed banana. And it was, I think he had 5 or 6 different surgeries to fully reconstruct the finger. And he still, this upper joint right here doesn't bend. He's only got these 2 joints. So, he's kind of permanently, giving the bird to everybody. But even after it happened, he still didn't stop. He's like, I'm still going to work every day. We've got stuff on the farm to do. We've got this to do. And it made me realize that there are limits. There are things that should put you down and you should rest. But there's other things. It's like, these old farm hands and old country boys, there's a lot that takes them to stop, and it's detrimental to their health in some cases. But he let us know, it's like, yeah, I'm in a ton of pain, but I've got to get this done. You know, you boys can't do it on your own. I need to get out there and do it. And I laughed because the first day out back on the farm, he went to put on a pair of gloves, and with the wrap and everything, he couldn't get his finger in. So he tosses me the gloves. He goes, cut the middle finger out. You know, what? He goes, cut the middle finger out of the gloves. So I cut it off right at the hand part of the glove. And so he walked around for the rest of the day with a pair of gloves on, you know, with his middle finger wrapped up. And he got what he needed to get done. And even my brother going, Dad, we got this. Go sit down. It's fine. Nope. I got to do this. And it led to a longer recovery time for him because he did develop a little bit of an infection. And I've learned, that's a lesson I've learned. It's like, if I've got a pretty decent injury, I can sit on the couch for a couple of days and let this heal. I think it'll be okay. You know,
yeah,
it's better than the alternative.
Yeah. And that's the thing. There are absolutely times where you just like, I have to get this done because it needs to be done, and I'm the only person who can do it. But those are very few and far between. There are, most of the time there is the you can take a break, and just because you're taking a break doesn't mean you're not doing the thing, because once you're recovered, you're going to be able to do the thing quicker.
Yeah.
You know, so it's probably going to get done at the exact same time as if you'd pushed through anyway. So just take a bit of a break, and that's okay.
Yeah. And there's, you know, my dad, and I think my grandpa would say this too. Growing up, just dealing with the stuff that I dealt with as a kid, and some of the things that issues with my mom, I did have some pretty severe anxiety. It was never really diagnosed with anxiety. And I'm also severely ADHD and ADD, you know, and all that, dyslexic. You throw it at a dartboard, I've probably got a little bit of it. And I grew up in a time where the solution to attention deficit disorder and all that was just pump kids full of medication, you know, and that's what my parents did. They pumped me full of medication, and I hated it because it shut my brain down. I did not like myself on Ritalin or whatever the stuff was back in the day. But that's I developed a lot of anxiety because it was like, this needs to be done, not now. It needs to be done yesterday, you know, or I'm going to get in trouble. You know, my mom was one of those, when she tells you to do something, you better do it, and it better be done now. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. If you take your time, you're going to get in trouble. And after I moved in with my dad, after everything went down, I still had those moments of, oh my God, this needs to be taken care of and fixed right now, to the point of panic attacks and just driving myself crazy. As a teenager, that's not healthy. And my dad set me down, and he looked at me one time, and he'd do it all the time. He'd tell you all the time. It's like, if this doesn't get solved right now, is anyone going to die? No. Okay. Is it going to financially ruin us if this doesn't get fixed right now? No. Is the house going to burn down if this doesn't get fixed right now? No. Okay. Then why are you panicking? Why are you upset? Why are you worried about it? I'm like, what do you mean? He goes, if fixing it a week from now is going to result in the exact same thing happening, it's panicking and stressing yourself out while fixing it today, put it off a couple days. It's going to be fine. And as a teenager, it didn't ever click. But as an adult, there's been a lot of times, and I'll talk about my wife. My wife has anxiety pretty bad. And I've learned how to help her with her anxiety. But she has that same mindset. It's got to be done today. If this doesn't get fixed, it's going to be the end of the world. And it's like, it's not. It's not the end of the world. Nobody's dying. Nobody's hurt. You know, the house isn't on fire. The sewer's not backing up again. You know, it's fine. Oh, okay. Yeah, just it's 11 o'clock at night. The bank's not open. Institution's not open. We can deal with it in the morning. Go to sleep. Don't think on it all night long, because you're going to drive yourself mad. And that has been one thing that has helped me more than anything in my life as I've gotten older, to go, yeah, we're good. We're good till tomorrow. You know, it is what it is type thing,
Yeah.
because
Worrying about it today isn't going to change tomorrow because it's going to have to be done
yep,
tomorrow anyway.
yeah. And it's there are reasons to panic and freak out about things. If your kids are hurt and like I said, house is on fire or something, yeah, that's a oh crap moment. Let's go. But if it's not going to affect you, let's just take time. The anxiety's not worth it. And, I see that a lot. I'm in sales for my main job, and I see that in a lot of guys and gals that are just like, oh my god, I got to do this on the first day of every month. It's like, it's a marathon, not a sprint. At the end of the day, you got 30 days. You'll get it done. And those ones that are, oh, I've got to get it done now, they don't last in the sales industry. Just because the panic sets in really quick. And so then the anxiety is super high and everything else. It's like, you'll be all right. It's not the end of the world.
Yeah. What I found a lot of times with people who get anxious about the things that they need to do is not so much that they have too much to do, is that they're doing too much of the wrong things.
Mm-hmm.
Like my wife has anxiety as well, and some ADHD for sure. But what she ends up doing, like, I use the cleaning the house for an example, right? Like, we're having somebody coming over and we'll clean the house, and then she'll get fixated on something like there's dust on the top edge of the baseboards, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so she'll panic about the dust on the baseboards, and she'll be down there scrubbing the dust on the baseboards when there's like a basket of laundry sitting in the middle of the floor, or whatever, right? And so what happens a lot of times with anxiety and things is people they get focused on the one thing and have to finish that before you can move on to the next thing, instead of going, okay, I can move this job 5%, this job 5%, this job 5%. Yeah, everything's not 100%, but if you do a whole bunch of 5% jobs, you've still done 100% of the work, right?
Yeah. And so I can say that as someone who, I joke, I don't suffer from ADHD. It's a wonderful ride. That's hard sometimes because I'm, same way, cleaning the house. All right, I know the island in the kitchen it needs to be cleaned off. Well, I'm going to take these items to my office. Oh, my trash can in my office is full. Let me empty that. And I've always looked at it as, what are those quick hits? Because people with ADD and ADHD, they need those quick dopamine hits. And so finding that one item that, this one, just say, I said cleaning the kitchen island off. That's going to take 30 minutes because that's the catch-all of the house. So everything on it has to go in 30 different directions. So you're going to spend a lot of time straightening up the island. But if I take this one item to this room and there's a quick item in this room that I can clean up, which then it leads into a snowball effect of 1,000 other things. And then 2 hours later, the kitchen island is still dirty, but you've had those 50 dopamine or whatever hits where it's like, I finished this task. And I get it, because I'm the same way. I will go from cleaning out the litter boxes for the cats to, okay, now I'm going to vacuum the entire floor. Oh, there's a spot on this carpet. Let me shampoo the carpet. let me do this. And it's like, there's times I know my wife just looks at me and goes, you said you were going to clean their litter boxes and that's it. Why are you doing all that? Oh, well, I noticed this or I noticed this. And she's like, I'll just let the madness go at this point because the house is getting cleaned. But I get that. Like I've done that too. It's like, oh, wife's like, hey, can you do the dishes? Yeah. I'll end up mopping the floors. You never did the dishes. Well, I'll get to it. Oh, okay. It's like, I'm sorry. Like, ADD kicks in.
With our house build here, there's a couple of things that were I have thought through and my wife have thought through, and the way we're designing it, like our entryway. I'll walk you through our entryway here.
Okay.
So you come in the door, and on the right hand side is going to be like the coat locker. Hang your backpack, hang your coat.
Yeah.
And on the left-hand side, right inside the door, there's going to be a dog washing station.
Oh,
Just
that's
like
cool.
yeah, so you step in. If you have mud on your boots, if you have crap that needs to be cleaned off, whatever,
Mm-hmm.
you just step in the door, step over onto that, clean off your boots or whatever, or spray down a dog if we have a dog at the time, or whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
And then the next step beyond that, you're going to walk from the entryway. You're going to walk through the storage room. So that's
Mm-hmm.
where our freezer is going to be. That's where our dry food storage is going to be. And then you're going to turn. Yeah, did you hear my 3-year-old there?
Go into the bath. Yep. Oh,
Yep.
love it.
They're at that age now where you're like, you really don't have to ask for my permission to do this, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But anyway, so you walk through the door, you walk through the storage room, and then you turn and walk into the kitchen.
Okay.
Or, well, actually, sorry, you're going to have to walk through the laundry room into the kitchen, and that'll be the family entrance. And the reason that it's going that way is because what happens with groceries? You always haul groceries in, and you haul them into the kitchen, and you set them on the kitchen table, and then they sit there for hours, and then you end up sorting them all out and sending them where they're going to be. The way we've designed it is you're going to come into the house, and if you have groceries, you put the frozen stuff into the frozen freezer, dry stuff onto the shelf right there as you go through, turn through the laundry, throw any dirty things that need to go into the laundry, and then bring the remainder of the stuff into the kitchen, and then go about your business.
That sounds amazing for someone like me that needs that. Here's the path. You have steps 1, 2, 3, 4 along this path. That's amazing sounding.
Well, and that's exactly why we're building it this way, because this is our this will be the 7th place that we've lived since we've been married.
Okay.
And I've renovated 4 of them. And entryways are always wrong. You know, because they're you come in and they're either like a burden of everything, or all they are is a coat hook and a place to put your boots, neither of which are effective.
Yeah. I in my day job, I'm in people's houses every day, and so I see a lot of different things. And one thing that I've seen that just to me is amazing is a laundry room that is connected to the main closet. So it is right there. You know, you're able to fold your laundry, put it away, you know, and it just stuff like that. Or even, you know, like I said, I was in a house the other day where you came through the garage, and right off the garage is the pantry. That's like, that makes so much sense. You know, like in my house, you walk through the breakfast nook into the kitchen, and then there's the laundry room / pantry, and it works for us. But it's like, yeah, you got to put everything down in the kitchen. Does it go to the refrigerator? Does it go here? Does it go here? And you're going in 20 different directions to put stuff away. And it's like, man, this would be so nice just to be able to walk into a room that's got the freezer and the refrigerator in it and the pantry. Just put it all in there, and you're done. You kick your shoes off right when you come in the door or whatever. That gives me ideas, because the house we're in now is not our last house. I want to build our dream home, and that gives me some ideas for how I want to design the family entry. You know, I love that idea.
Well, and that's exactly what that is, the family entry. That's not the entry. That's not the main entry to the house.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because I don't know about you, but my family, you come into the house and you go, what the heck happened in this entryway?
Yep.
And there's always this deep, dark sense of shame. If anybody ever shows up, they're going to see this.
Yep.
Whereas now we can just like, I'm going to just shut that door. You can't see that, and you come into the front end.
Yes.
You know.
Yeah, that is why bedrooms have doors. You know, and guests come over. Yeah, I know my wife would love that, because she's always, you know, why is the house so messy? And my joke in response of the house is messy, it's like, I'm sorry, we live there. You know, it's not messy. It's lived in. You know, there's a difference. I see messy houses. I'm about once a week, I'm in a hoarder house. And you want to talk about a messy house, someone that does not throw things away. Yeah, I don't get it. I'm not a
next
germaphobe.
Level nasty.
But I've been in houses where they're like, well, here, have a seat. No, I I will gladly stand up for another hour. Like, I am not sitting down, and I'm probably going to burn my shoes when I get home because this is bad. And then I go to other houses where they're just moving into the house and they're like, oh my God, they're super apologetic. And I'm sorry it's messy. And I'm like, you're moving in. You have moving boxes. This isn't messy. You want to see messy? Go see the last house I was at that had 20 years of newspapers and paper plates stacked up in the kitchen. Like, this is clean. And I tell my wife that all the time. It's like, yeah, our house is close friend ready all the time. It's not entertainment ready, but it's our best friends showing up unannounced ready all the time. And that's all I care about. Because if my best friends are going to come over and judge me on the fact that I've got 3 days worth of mail stacked up on my kitchen island, they're not my best friends. My friends don't care. They're never going to judge over that, But,
well, they know that their house is like that 90% of the time too.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
I'll tell my wife, it's like, hey, we're out. Let's run by so-and-so's house. Well, no, we got to let them know they don't have, his wife won't have time to clean. I'm like, they don't care. Well, no, if someone just showed up at our house, I'd be mad. I'm like, okay, fine. I understand. Let's just not cause some random person anxiety. Let's go home. But like going to my grandparents' house, I always knew, because my grandmother was her house was spotless. You didn't wear shoes on the carpet, much less 10 feet past the front door. So you knew you could always show up to that woman's house day or night, and it was ready for a party because it was always perfectly clean. But that was my grandmother. And I asked her for 1 year. I was like, how does your house stay so clean 24/7? And she goes, it's easy. I'm like, what? She goes, I kicked all my kids out. Like, that makes a lot of sense. Love my kids, but God, they're messy.
Well, that's exactly is your bedroom when your house is going to be clean is when you don't have any kids, because you've spent the last 15, 20 years, whatever, developing these abilities to like clean really, really fast and efficiently. And then once there's only the two of you there and you're already in the habit of putting things away properly anyway, there's hardly going to be any cleanup to actually do.
Yeah. But I'm not looking forward to those times, because to me, that's a fun part of life, and just a reminder of, the awesome part of being a dad or a parent is, I got to clean up toys every once in a while. I'm fine with that. Like, I'll clean up toys all day long if that means that I'm getting random hugs and kisses on the cheek and, high fives from my son or whatever. 15-year-old kids, they don't show emotion, I've learned. And God forbid you give your 15-year-old son a hug out in public, or put your arm around him. Found that out the other day. That's not a cool thing to do. Dads are not supposed to apparently hug their 15-year-old sons in public, especially when there's girls around. They get all emotional.
But what he needs to learn now, though, is that if a girl sees his dad hugging him and him being okay with that, that's emotional vulnerability, and that's like a total turn on.
Yeah.
But
I tell him, it's like, dude, come on. Like, it's not that serious. No, they're not going to think I'm cool. Yeah, they are. Yeah, they're going to think you're cool. You're already pretty cool. They'll just, it's all right. Nobody's going to make fun of you.
The people who think you're cool are going to think you're cool regardless, and the people who don't think you're cool are not going to think you're cool regardless.
Yep. I spent too many years trying to be the cool guy, and I'm at the point in my life now where it's like, my daughter thinks I'm cool and my son thinks I'm cool sometimes. So and my wife thinks I'm cool. At least I think she thinks I'm cool. She probably thinks I'm a dork most of the time, and I know when I'm singing to the top of my lungs to some random, Shania Twain or Garth Brooks song in the car, she's probably going, dear God, why did I marry this man? He is such a dork. But that's me. I enjoy that stuff. I'm, I don't care what people think about me. It's not my place to worry about being judged anymore.
That's a good mental spot to be at, because I was reading a study the other day, and it was talking about how people have this misperception of life being a straight line, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
a progression from here to there, and the path of life actually follows a U. You're
Okay.
at this high point at like high school graduation or university graduation, wherever you hit that kind of high point, because you're on, oh, look at all this success, I'm cool, I'm whatever.
Yeah.
And then you hit the real world, and your emotional well-being tanks, because suddenly you're surrounded by people who don't care about you, you
Yeah.
know and it's not even that they don't care, like, because in high school you have this small group of friends where they either you're friends or you're enemies, right?
Yeah.
Because and everybody knows who you are. But then you hit the real world, and suddenly you're in a situation where not only does nobody know who you are, but they don't care either.
Yeah.
And so then your emotional well-being kind of takes this tank, because suddenly nobody knows you, and you go through this existential crisis of, oh, whatever. But then once you hit that bottom and you start to climb back up, is when you realize that you know what, I don't care, I'm still a valuable person, I'm still me, I'm still, it doesn't matter what somebody else thinks. And then you make that climb back out again, and you become, that's why old people, you know don't are more confident in themselves, and they have less mental issues,
Yeah.
by and large,
That's
is
true.
because they've been through that low point of existential
Mm-hmm.
crisis, and now they're back up, and, oh, okay, I'm fine, I'm good, I can be
Yeah.
myself now.
I used to, like I said, I'm in sales, and I've been in sales for 20 years. When I was younger, and we did recognition calls or awards calls or whatever, I was the first one on the call. I was hooting and hollering and cheering and waiting to hear my name. And I got called out the other day by a director. I never see your name on these calls anymore. I never see you on Teams when we're having these calls. I'm like, sorry. It's at 7 o'clock in the morning, and I'm drinking my coffee, or I'm eating my breakfast. I don't want to get on this call. Well, why not? Isn't recognition important to you? My paycheck's more important. That's the recognition for me. Like, I don't need cheers and virtual high fives and yay, good for yous. I understand there's people out there that work in this world that they need the pats on the backs and the high fives and the, good job, you sold this many things this month. And I'm like, I've been doing this for 20 years, guys. Like, I'm just here to do a job and make money at the end of the day. And if you want to give me a pat on the back, cool. I'll randomly get, which I think is funny because I don't like Starbucks coffee, but I'll randomly get Starbucks gift cards from my boss for doing something. And I'm like, bro, send me a Lowe's or a Home Depot gift card or something like that, like, or an Amazon gift card. Like, I don't want Starbucks. Like, but yeah, and I get, like, sometimes you need that ego pat. Okay, cool. I've learned over the years that I don't need it. I don't need it from the outside world. It does make a huge difference when something happens and my wife or my son or my daughter go, wow, that was really cool, Dad, and that was awesome. Like, that's the ego boost I like and I need in my life, not the random paid director within my company going, yay, you hit your goals again this month, good for you, you did the bare minimum to keep your job yet again. And that's what a lot of those calls are. And it's like, okay, cool, guys. Like, it doesn't, and it probably looks bad on me because I'm not drinking the corporate Kool-Aid and doing all that, but that's just me. It is what it is, but yeah, I've been through enough.
Yeah, you don't need a random stranger to say, oh, good job, you.
Yeah, like we have a group chat. Every time you close a deal, you're supposed to put it in the group chat, and I just did this, and you get all the virtual, all the hearts and likes and virtual high fives in the Teams chat, and I never do it. I'm doing my job. at the end of the day. It's like, does a ditch digger get a high five every time he finishes, shoveling dirt, to clear out a ditch? No. I am just here to do my job,
Yeah. I think that's what separates there's that going back to our manliness conversation, I guess, right? It's like, seems like there's a spectrum of there's the bro end of manliness, where you have the give me the high five because I finished digging my ditch or I made the sale or whatever.
Yeah.
And then on the other end of that manliness spectrum, you have the absolute, I'm just, I'm doing it because I'm awesome and I do everything perfectly, blah, 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 the toxic manliness sort of thing. And then somewhere in that middle spectrum is the, I get my high five from the person who actually matters to me.
Yep.
And that's what's important. But for the most part, I'm just going to do my job because it's got to get done.
At the end of the day. And there's one other guy on my team he's an older gentleman from New York, and he's the same way. He's like, God, another recognition call. Like, wow, we did our job another month. I'm like, it is what it is. Same, because he got called out at the same time I did for not being on these calls. And he calls me. He's like, hey, did you get in trouble? Because you're never on these either, are you? I was like, nope. I was like, yeah, I got in trouble. I didn't get in trouble. I just asked if I was not receiving the invites. Is their corporate way of telling you better be on these calls. And he's like, God, it's just a waste of time. It's a waste of my morning. You got to do what you got to do sometimes.
Yeah. And speaking to your Starbucks gift card things and corporate meetings and things like that, there are certain things where I would so much rather come into work 15 minutes late than get a $5 or $10 gift card for something,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It's like, just, and there's so many meetings, and that's one of the reasons why I'm self-employed and kind of intend to stay that way, is because in my experience, there are so many meetings to plan meetings,
Yes.
It's like, well, we have a weekly meeting where we run down our stats. And like, I know what mine are. And in my conversations with my fellow employees, I know pretty much what theirs are. So what value is this meeting?
Yeah. I always loved the Friday week wrap up meeting, and then the Monday morning to discuss what happened last week again, and then the going forward. And it's like, why? We need one meeting a week at the end of the day. What are we doing this week? The rest can be individual conversations. But yeah, and
and then you get the emails with the points that we're going to go over in the meeting.
Yeah. I've had one boss that he was very cynical about that stuff, and we'd have these big all team, all market meetings, and he would send a meme or whatever to the group, and it was always, blue ribbon award. I survived another meeting that could have been an email.
Yeah.
And that was his thing. He's like, they read word for word off the email that they sent out a day ago. Cool. And it's, but that's corporate world for you. And it's one thing I will say about the corporate world that I truly, I used to not agree with because I thought it was a joke, but is the mental health days, allowing people just to go, hey, I'm not sick. I didn't take vacation. I'm just getting burnt out. I need a day away. And I know there's people that abuse it because it's there. But there are those days every once in a while you just go, I can't do this today. I need a day just to sit at the house, watch TV or whatever. I cannot go to work today. And yeah, when I first heard about it, I was like, really? A mental health day? Who needs a mental health day? And now as I've gotten older, I'm like, that's a good idea sometime. I need a mental health day.
Yeah. Are you familiar with Patagonia, the clothing brand?
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know if you know much about their corporate culture thing, but I watched a video about the founder, what's his name? Yves something. It's like a French name. And anyway, the Patagonia, it's in their corporate policy. Their hiring guide, the whole nine, whatever it is, right? Their corporate policy is that every single employee has I think it's 5 or 6 days per year where they can just call in and say, "Hey, I'm going to do my sport."
Oh, that's cool.
Like, yeah, so it's like if they're into surfing and the surf's really good today, they can call in and say, "Surf's up. I'm going to go surfing today," or skiing or whatever their thing is, and they're, as a result of that, like during this thing I was reading, the result of that is the employees are more productive and they're more engaged in their work because they know they have less sick days because people don't have to call in sick because the surf's up. They can just say, "Hey, I'm gonna take my day. I'm gonna go surfing. Be back energized tomorrow." Right.
And that, to me, that leads to, or just proves how good leadership can really build a great company and a great team. And I look at in a way, there's a huge difference between a leader and a manager. I truly believe anybody can be a manager. You can teach someone how to be a manager, but not everybody can be a leader. Not everybody can rally the troops. And I've had some absolutely phenomenal leaders in my years in my business that I truly would like. I will go into battle with you. Like, you are an amazing human because you truly care about your people. And then I've had a lot of other people, and it's like, cool, you're reading another spreadsheet. You're, when they say, I'm a numbers guy, I'm like, yeah, okay, you're also a micromanager, and you're this, and this. And, that conversation that we had, or when I sent you that message through Instagram, and we were talking about, just dealing with mental issues. It's been, God, my son's 15, so 12, 13 years since I separated from his mother. And it was a rough time. It was hard. And it was never because of her. Because I've gotten that question. It's like, oh, were you depressed because, she left you? It's like, no, I never missed her. I never did. Because her and I were done years before the divorce. I just kind of stuck around because I thought that's what you did. I grew up in a broken home. I didn't want my kid growing up in a broken home. So I suffered through a lot of pain. I felt like a failure as a father because it's a little backstory. I mean, my biological father gave me up for adoption when I was 1 or 2. And my dad, the man that raised me, adopted me. Same biological mother, but my biological father wanted nothing to do with me. And I was not about to be that guy. I was going to take care of my son no matter what. I was going to put up with whatever I had to put up with. And when he wasn't there every night, when I wasn't tucking him into bed every night, I felt like a worthless human being. My purpose in life was gone and fell into a deep, deep, dark depression. And I'll say this, if there's something you don't want me talking about on the podcast, just let me know and I'll change the subject. I don't know.
No, go ahead.
Okay. I'll try not to use certain words. I'll say that much. I fell into a very, very deep, dark depression. Started drinking heavily. Fortunately didn't get into any illicit drugs or anything. It was just a lot of alcohol. And that scared me too, because my mother's an alcoholic. And so I thought I was afraid I was falling down that rabbit hole. And I had a boss at the time. 2 of them, actually. One who I'd known for, at that point, over 10 years. We had worked together at another company, and he was one of the boys. He was always there for you if you needed it. A little older than me, but always knew he had my back if I ever needed anything. And he was, at that time, the assistant store manager. And then my store manager, Muhammad, was an amazing leader. I mean, you would do anything for this man. He and you knew he was right behind you all the time. And I came into work one day, just not myself. And I was always this happy-go-lucky, smile on my face, The world is my oyster. Let's just go out there and kick butt today and own the world. And they said they noticed over a couple of weeks that I was not getting as good at hiding the pain. They really could tell I was hurting. And they brought me in the office and they said, okay, we scheduled you an appointment with a therapist or with a psychiatrist. I'm like, I'm not going to a psychiatrist, guys. That's a joke. I did that in high school when my mom, I found my mom twice after she'd attempted to take her own life. And I was forced to go to a psychiatrist because it was judge appointed or whatever. And I thought it was a joke. I just did. I was a dumb teenager. And this whole time, he's like, nope, you're going to a psychiatrist. The company's going to pay for it. You get 5 free sessions. You're going because we're afraid of what might happen. You're not in the right space. Went to finally did. There's like, you're either going to go on your own or we're going to drag your butt there. Plain and simple. They were not going to take no for an answer. And he also looked at me that one day. He goes, you're going to go home. You're going to get some sleep and you'll come back tomorrow rested. And I was like, if I go home, I'm going to get a point and then that could affect my job. And he goes, nope. I got you, boss. Don't worry about it. So the next day I get up, go to this therapist, sit down and talk to her. And I realized the first conversation I had with this lady, we were not going to mesh well. Because everything we talked about, she kind of said the same thing. Well, do you think it's probably your fault you feel that way? And it's like, I never really thought about it. And she goes, you think maybe it's your fault you're having these thoughts, or it's your fault, you're doing this, and she's always, it's your fault. And after a couple of sessions, I asked her, I said, why is it always my fault? I didn't start this. I didn't file for divorce. I didn't do these other things. Why is it my fault? And she goes, it's your brain, isn't it? Yeah. She goes, get out of your own head. You're thinking too much. You're sitting at home by yourself every night alone. Stop it. And I'm like, okay. She was just get out. Just go do something. She was stop drinking. Stop listening to country music, because I'm a country boy and I love country music. And I laughed. I was like, why country music? She goes, have you ever listened to country music? It's depressing. And you're depressed. You don't need more depressing music in your life. You need some happy music. And I'm like, okay, whatever, doc. And I did. I started going out, had some buddies that did trivia nights, started going out and doing stuff like that. And I still, I got a little better, but it was the getting home alone that hurt. And I dated a couple of girls on and off, and I always found something that drove me away. That was just, I had so many standards set for myself with another woman that nobody ever met those standards, because I'm not going to let my son be around some random person. And I just, I remember one night I took him home to his mom's, and that was when it was the worst. I'd take him home, and I come home, I'd be alone. It would just be me and my dog. And I felt like a failure of a father, because here I am, I'm not able to tuck my son into bed. And he had also kind of gotten to where he didn't want to come to dad's house anymore. He wanted to stay with mom. And that hit me hard too. And I remember sitting there one night, and one thing I would do when I got home is I turn on the TV. So there was noise, just so I wasn't sitting in a silent house. And I don't know if you know the comedian Christopher Titus. Have you ever heard of him?
No, I don't know.
Okay. So he has a series called Norman Rockwell is Bleeding. And in that, he talks about a lot of mental health and how his mother took her own life. And he talks about how, it's a lot of that stuff's hereditary and this and just different things. And I'd watched it 100 times. It was one of my favorite shows. And so it was always like the first thing on Netflix to pop up. And so I'd press play, and it was one of those nights where I just kind of was like, all right, I'm done. I can't do this anymore. I'm a worthless human being. I serve no purpose. The alternative is the easier solution. And had it all planned out. And I remember, and I laugh about it now, because, whether that's healthy or not, but I can laugh about it now. His special's on, and it comes to a point in his special where he talks about if you're at this point where you feel like there is no other solution. And I'll kind of paraphrase. I don't remember the exact. It's been a while since I watched it. But he goes, "Step back, look at yourself, and stop being a wussy." Because that was something his dad always says. Like anytime he got hurt or whatever, it's like, "Stop being a wussy. Like man up." And he says that, and I started laughing because it hit me. Exactly what he's talking about is what I'm sitting here thinking about doing. Like what the? I started laughing, and I called my buddy, one of my best friends, and we both had motorcycles at the time. I was like, "Bro, let's get on the bikes and let's go for a ride. Where do you want to go? I don't care. Let's ride until the gas tanks are empty, find a gas station, and we'll come home. Let's just go for a ride." And I did. 2 or 3 hours just riding. And I got home and I woke up the next morning. And to say I was better, no. Or I was fixed, no. I was not fixed. Mentally, I was still very broken. But I was a lot better than what I was. And it took me a long time. And I ended up going back after my 5 sessions. I went back to that doctor. And I told her. I sat there on her couch and said, "Doc, I have to admit something to you." And I told her what had happened. And she goes, "Well, you're really good at hiding it because I never would have picked that up from you in talking to you, that you would have been capable of even thinking about that, even with the history of my life and the stuff that I grew up dealing with." And she goes, "But I'm thankful you didn't make that decision. But here's what we're going to do going forward." And she sat down with me. She worked with me for a couple months. And then I will say that the saving grace, I met my wife and realized real quick that happiness is something I deserve. She fell in love with me. I fell in love with her. She fell in love with my son. You know, she loves being his stepmom. He loves her. And we have a beautiful daughter. And I've learned that my purpose over the years, not only taking care of my family, and it's been able to help other people. And I've run into people. I met a gentleman a couple years ago that, like I said, I'm in and out of people's houses all day. And you could just tell this guy was not in a great place, going through a divorce, older daughters that didn't want anything to do with him because the mom had kind of brainwashed them into thinking it was all dad's fault. And we talked for a while and told him what I'd been through. And he called me about 6 months later. He's like, "Bro, I met a woman. I got myself cleaned up, got my head right. My daughter's coming over every week to hang out and eat dinner with us, and this, and this." And he's like, "You're right. It does get better." And it's hard. And, and that's why what picked me up or made me really look at your podcast when I saw the name of it, the Workshop Therapy, because for a lot of people, and for me included, woodworking is therapy. There are times I can just go out there and tinker when I'm stressed or when I'm upset about something, and I'm better, And the fortunate thing is my wife is so cool with me just going, "Hey, I'm going to go hang out in the shop for a little bit." "What are you going to do?" "I don't know. Find something." Because I know if I sit in here and watch YouTube or I sit in here and play on my phone, I'm going to go down this rabbit hole and I'm going to get, I'm sad about something and I need to get it off my brain.
Before I stopped working, I, in pain, suffering, in the same mental kind of dark space of like, I'm failing because I can't do my job, blah, blah, blah. And the reason I decided to call this podcast Workshop Therapy is because I wanted to get better at my woodworking abilities, right? And so I started doing this kind of daily joinery challenge for myself for a while, and kind of filming it and throwing it up on YouTube and the social media stuff, right? And initially I kind of felt like, oh, I need to do something useful with this. I need to build something out of these joints, and so I had this idea initially, like, this is what I'm going to build. But then I started just I'm cutting this joinery, and it's just going to be a couple pieces of wood stuck together, and I'm going to put it on the shelf, and that's it. It's effectively going to be a useless thing to do, aside from getting a little bit better at joinery. And so that's when I started thinking about this sometimes, I go out into my shop. Well, I don't now because I don't really have a shop, but I go out into the shop and take the hand plane off the thing and take a few hand plane shavings off of a random board that I was pretending to joint. And in all reality, all I was doing was just making shavings, because that's one of those relaxing things for me, right?
Yeah.
And so then I went down this rabbit hole when I started the podcast of you listen to all these other podcasts where, oh yeah, this, woodworking is my therapy, or art is my therapy, or whatever it is. And I think for me, people need to feel productive in some way,
Yeah.
in order to feel good about themselves. And that's where you get the dopamine hit from the doom scroll, but at the same time it brings you down lower, because then you have these self-comparison things, or whatever. But yeah, going out into the shop and fiddling, you almost feel like you've done something useful and something productive, whether it's sweeping the floor or you've moved a project another step. And even if that project ends up being nothing, it ends up giving you that little bit of that dopamine hit to bring your mood up, but there wasn't any negative associated with it. Like, I wasted my time on social media, or I wasted my time watching Netflix, or whatever. Even though sometimes that's not a waste of time. Sometimes that is probably beneficial for you too. But
I've learned a lot from watching YouTube, and I know we all have. There's, especially in the woodworking world, there's a lot you can learn, but yeah, there's times where it's, I don't even have a project going on. It's like, I'm just going to go outside and go to the shop and clean. It doesn't hurt to vacuum and sweep and just pick up every once in a while, because they, a clean shop's a safe shop, and, and maybe organize. And it's like, I just finished this project and I've realized that my workflow could be better if I did it this way. And, just those little bits of accomplishments can make all the difference in the world mentally. Because it's those little, and yeah, you get the dopamine hits from the doom scrolling, but those, to me, they don't last. They're those quick hits, but having that, I just cleaned this up, or I just started working on a cutting board, or I just did this, those, they tend to last a little bit longer, at least for me in my situation. They make it worthwhile to go, hey, I got to spend 30 minutes in the shop today. 20 of those minutes were sweeping. 10 of those were gluing up a cutting board blank, or doing whatever, lasering some random thing. But it's that, this made my brain a little bit calmer, at the end of the day. And I'm thankful I found the hobby of woodworking. Because I grew up doing stuff like that with my dad, just working, it's part of being on a farm. You just build stuff. But, working, to build cutting boards, serving boards. I've got a bed build. I'm coming up with kitchen tables, whatever. And it's funny because like I said, I grew up doing this stuff with my dad, remodeling houses with my dad. That was one thing that we did. We remodeled a house when I was a teenager, and he called me up one day, and it makes me feel kind of cool that my dad is calling me for advice when it comes to woodworking stuff. And it was him. Actually, I think we were all together. It's him and my brother. And my brother's about 7 years younger than me. And my dad looks at me and goes, how did you get so good at all this stuff? How did you get so good at all, this woodworking? And, we all kind of pick at each other. And I go, well, I watched you do it wrong enough times. I figured out how to do it the right way. And my brother died laughing at that point. He fell over laughing. Because he thought it was hilarious. And my dad's like, y'all are jerks. I'm like, it's not necessarily completely untrue. But he'll call me every once in a while and go, hey, I need some advice. I'm doing this project, because he's building a cabin up in Colorado. And he's like, I want to do this. I need some advice. And it's like, it makes you feel kind of, it's an accomplishment to have dad call you and go, hey, I need your advice on something. Okay. Because I always do
Yep.
it. Hey, Dad, I need some dad advice. I need some help. But yeah, that makes me feel good.
Well, we've been on for a while here. Didn't realize we've been running that long, but we should probably wrap up.
Yeah.
I appreciate the time that you've taken to talk and share. And like we discussed in the pre-show, I'm gonna have you read something for me.
Have you? And okay. Let's see how Texan this comes out to be, right?
Yeah. So regular listeners know that I've switched up how I'm doing the Patreon read, and this is the first time that I'll ever have a guest read it.
Do you want the Texan draw, or do you just want?
Tell
me how you want this.
Just read it as you, and if you want to be a little more Texas than normal, that's okay.
All right, I'm going to do my best to get through this out without laughing. No promises. All right.
No worries.
Okay, well, I got to get the giggles out because I'm not going to get through it. And if I mess up somebody's name, I'm going to go ahead and apologize because I'm horrible with names. All right. Well, gather round, y'all, because it's time to shine a big old spotlight on the legends keeping the Workshop Therapy podcast rolling. Like a 6-shooter on a hot streak, these here founding father patrons are straight shooting, hard working, salt of the earth folks. And by golly, we're proud to have them riding with us. First up, we got Matthew from Artigiano Sierra Turning?
Artigiano Serio.
Artigiano Serio Turning Wood. And turning wood into ideas, pure gold, faster than a gunslinger's draw. Then there's Brad of Brad's Customs, whose builds are so fine they make a gunsmith blush. Keith of Blackthorn Concepts, his designs are locked, loaded, and hit the mark every single time. Eric of Overall Maker Works is the kind of guy who'd take a scrap heap and come out with a cannon just for fun. And Brandon of Tectonic Creations, let's just say his craftsmanship is seismic and hits you like a double barrel blast. And the Grant Alexander, well, if talent was ammo, that feller would have an endless supply ready to take on whatever comes his way. Now for our special shout out, Adam Coonrat. How do you say that?
Yeah, that was right.
Coonrat of Uncle Sam Metalworks. Y'all, this man's skills are hotter than a Colt revolver fresh out of a holster. His metalwork stronger than a Texas steel barrel, and prettier than the engraving on a prized Winchester. Adam, you're the sharpshooter of this operation, partner, and we couldn't be more grateful for your support. And if y'all out there want to join this band of merry makers and keep this podcast locked and loaded, head over to Patreon and back the Workshop Therapy podcast. We're building something stronger than forged iron, and there's always room for another hand on the lever. Until next time, keep your tools sharp, your ideas loaded, and your sights set on something great. Yeehaw. All right.
I think the yeehaw made it. That was
yeehaw. There we go. I'll give you a better yeehaw. There you go. Yeehaw.
Yeah. Anyway, so yes. So I appreciate you going along with that.
Yeah. That was fun. I probably should have pre-read it first before I read it all out, but hey.
No, it's all good. I think people kind of expect it to be unedited and raw at this point anyway. So
off the cuff.
Off the cuff, yep.
Yep. So, well, yeah.
Anyway, thanks for coming on. Why don't you give your social medias, the shout out, and all that jazz, and then we'll head over to the after show wrap up type of thing.
Yeah, pretty much. You can find me everywhere at Byrom's Custom Woodworks, and it's BYROMS. So there's a little confusion. People throw an N in there. So Byrom's Custom Woodworks, and that's Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, Facebook. That's me. So yeah, if y'all want to give me a like and subscribe, I do appreciate it. Yeah. Say hi in the comments. Tell me where you came from, and I'll say hi back.
Well, I guarantee you might even get one follower from this podcast appearance.
Hey, you know what? It's one more than I had. So that's not a bad thing.
Yeah. All right, well, let's head over to the after show here.